Great, we are recording. Well, thanks for joining me, everyone who's joining live, and hello to everyone who's on the recording. So glad you're here for this version of the Amped Inner Circle. You are in the inner circle, and remember, the Amped Life is just a fun acronym that I thought of in the shower where lots of my good ideas come, right? But the Amped Life stands for a life where you are activated, motivated, productive, energized, and disciplined. And the A in Amped, when you talk about what you're activating your best self. And we're going to be talking about how that is so important in knowing who that is in order to create confidence in your life. So today's topic is all about confidence. And I have rarely met a human being that says, I've got all the confidence I need for every single situation that I could ever need it for, right? Like confidence is this wonderful thing that when you have it, everything else is kind of contingent upon it. And if you don't have it, everything is affected by it. So I know that we all would love to have more confidence. I know what it's like to go from being a woman that didn't have confidence to now having calm confidence. I call it calm confidence, like Cesar Millan's dogs when he's training the dogs to be the best versions of the dog. They're called calm assertive. That's kind of what I think of when I think of confidence. It's kind of this humble confidence. So I want to talk about what it is, why it's so important, and then how the heck do you get it? Sound good? Okay. So in Brendon Burchard's research of high performers, and this is his book, High Performance Habits, New York Times bestselling book, he studied over the course of years many thousands of high performers. And let's remind ourselves the definition of a high performer, because confidence is a really important piece of being a high performer, and I'll tell you how. But a high performer has four things. They have success above the standard norms. They have success over a long period of time, so it's sustainable, so they're not like burning out, like decades of success over standard norms, which is interesting, right? They have a state of well-being and positive emotions, and confidence is one of those emotions that they feel. And then last, they have healthy, awesome relationships. So they have all of those things. Now, when you study high performers, as Brendon did, there's one quality that correlates the highest with high performance. It's not talent. It's not hours of training. It's not personality type, whether you're an extrovert or an introvert. It's not any of those things. And you probably can guess what it is. The number one thing that correlates with high performance is confidence. So it's very, very interesting. Okay, confidence is the secret ingredient that makes one rise to the occasion. It makes one rise to challenges. It's the thing, and you can imagine and think about probably in times in your life where you've risen to a challenge, you had some level of confidence about that. So I'm going to tell you what the definition is, but when we go back and we look at high performers, the three positive emotions that they seek to experience and that they actually report experiencing, hands down above all other positive emotions, are joy. So they report experiencing a lot of joy and much more than their underperforming counterparts, right? If you compare high performers to non-high performers, they describe their emotional state using these three words: joy, engagement, which means they feel their day. They feel present. They feel like they're showing up in their life. They're not just flat. They're experiencing and feeling their day. And the last is they feel confident. Okay? I want you to think about this statement and rate yourself how strongly you agree with this statement, 0 to 10. 0 is I do not agree with, I do not, that doesn't ring true for me at all. 10 is that's totally me. Okay, so here's the statement. I'm confident I can achieve my goals despite challenges or resistance. I'll say it again. I'm confident I can achieve my goals despite challenges or resistance. When you look at high performers, they strongly agree with that statement. So wherever you are, that's okay. We're just going to move you up closer to a 10. We're just going to move you up. Okay? Okay, so here's the definition of confidence. And when I heard this definition a couple years ago, it completely changed my life and my mindset. And as a psychologist, I should have known better, I think. I should have known what this definition was, but I always viewed it through a psychologist lens. And in psychology, the way we talk about confidence is called self-efficacy. And self-efficacy is this, like, are you rising to your potential? Do you believe that you can rise to your potential? But ultimately, if you look across the definitions of confidence, confidence is this, and it's simple. It's the ability to figure things out. So just write that down. Confidence in adulthood is the ability to figure things out. Now, in childhood, confidence is different. My little sweet pea Emily, she struggles with confidence. In childhood, developmentally, we need certain structures to be around us. We need to feel valued and loved and approved of and accepted to really, developmentally speaking, have a strong, healthy sense of confidence. But in adulthood, here's the good news. We get to choose that for ourselves. So if we don't have it, it's okay. We get to choose, we get to pivot, we get to claim it, and I'll show you how. But the ability to figure things out is confidence. Now look at how great that is. It's not the ability to do everything well. It's not that. That's competency. That's not confidence. That's competence. And we confuse the two, I think, a lot. Oh, raise your hand. Danielle. Love it. Looks like she raised her.
Sorry. Oh. Yeah, could you
mute the person that's on the phone? Yes. Let's see if I can. Oh, thank you. I'm just going to mute everybody. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. I can't even hear that, which is so weird. Oh, yeah. If everyone can mute themselves just for the recording. Thank you so much. Okay. So confidence is also, I heard it said this way. It's one's level of trust in oneself. It's to confide in oneself. Confidence is your ability to confide in yourself. And if we look at that, it's your ability, like I said, to trust yourself. And where does that come from? It's your ability to keep the promises you make for yourself, to yourself. It's your ability to keep the promises you make to yourself. Ouch, because that's called discipline. So you can see how kind of your behaviors will feed or diminish your confidence. Okay, so we're going to tie that all in for you in a little bit too. So confidence, the ability to figure things out, the degree to which you can confide in oneself, the degree to which you trust yourself to keep the promises that you make to yourself. Okay, so one of my one of the people I love following the most, her name is Marie Forleo, Forleo, and she has the #1 business coaching online launch in the world. She opens it up every year. It's called B School, and she has been at this business that she's been doing for 18 years. But her mother always said, and she shared this on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday talk that she did. Her mother always said, everything is figure-outable. And it's not a word, but it's cute, right? Everything is figure-outable. And she actually is writing her book. It's coming out, I think it's September, and it's called Everything is Figure-Outable. And that literally is the definition of confidence, okay? When I was at Brendon Burchard's conference, he said something really kind of silly, but he said, but true and profound. He said, I want you to kind of look at everything you've ever survived in your life. Like, how you doing? And he said, you've survived 100% of the stuff you've gone through. And it might seem a little silly, but I want you to realize, like, what more do you need to know? What more data do you need? We are all adults here. We're not, 13-year-olds. We've had enough life experience to say, I've survived it all. I have a really great track record of figuring it out. Not a great track record of doing it perfectly, a good track record. I'm batting 1,000 at figuring things out. You're on this call. We've all figured everything out. We've survived it, okay? So I want you to realize that today you claim confidence. Today you say, I am confident, okay? I am confident in my ability to figure things out. Tony Robbins says, please mute the phone. Okay, good. Tony Robbins says that if you look at successful people, high performers, they don't necessarily have resources, or they didn't necessarily start with resources, but they all had resourcefulness. See the distinction? They don't have resources, but they have resourcefulness. Resourcefulness is another way to think about, I have the ability to gather up resources to figure it out, okay? Okay, so here's what the research tells us about confidence. It's kind of like the gateway drug to all the good things. It's kind of like the gateway to all good things. So when you study confident people, it makes sense. They are happy. They love new challenges. So you can see if you don't have confidence, like how can you switch this around and say, like, how can I be a person that becomes attracted and available for new challenges? That would grow my confidence, okay? They feel like they're making a difference in the world. Confident people feel like they're making a difference in the world. They sustain their energy, so they have less burnout. And here's what confident people do that I think is interesting. Because they have clarity, which I'm going to help you with, they feel good about what they say yes to, and they feel good about what they say no to. And as a result of that, they're less distracted and they're more productive. So see how they all kind of circularly, like, the more productive you are, the more clear you are, the more confident that you are, and the more confident that you are, the more clear you are, and the more productive you're going to be, and the more you're going to say no to, and the more you're going to say yes to the right things. So it's this circular cycle that feeds into itself. It's a positive feedback loop. Okay. And last, confident people have better health. And it kind of makes sense because when you're feeling good about yourself, you're actually more likely to work out. You're more likely to do that, right? And then when you work out, you feel more confident. So this is what's called the confidence competence loop. The confidence competence loop. Okay. I'll explain more about that. But let's back up a second. So I said at the beginning that confidence is the most highly correlated trait with high performers, but correlation is different than causation. So we also know that confidence doesn't cause high performance. So you can actually have confidence and not be high performing. And so you still need the 6 habits that are in this book. You still need to be doing the things that would make you a high performer. So that's interesting, right? So confidence alone doesn't get you all these habits. The habits are correlated with confidence. Okay? Okay, so what the heck? Where do we get it? If people aren't born with it, if it's not based on, years of skills and blah, 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 what is it? How do we get it? It is based on skills. Here are the 3 C's of confidence. And this is how we're going to grow our confidence. I'll tell you the 3 C's and then we'll go through each. The first is congruence. Congruence, we'll talk about what that means. The second is competence. And the third is connection. So the 3 C's of confidence are congruence, competence, and connection. So the first one is congruence. So congruence means, are you behaving in line with your stated values? Are you behaving in line with your ideal self? Are you congruent? Are you in alignment with the person that you say you want to be? Now, if we look at this kind of definition, what is foundational to that is knowing who you want to be. So the bedrock of this is clarity. So with no clarity, we have no confidence. No clarity, we don't have a chance to be congruent. No congruence, we're not going to be confident. And so one of the 6 habits is clarity. So it's a really great chapter to go back to, but this is how I want you to quickly become clear on who you want to be, okay? If you've been to any of my events, you've probably heard me talk about this, but it's figuring out who your ideal self is. So after this call sometime today, why don't you just spend some time brainstorming all the words that come to mind that would describe you as your ideal self. Who would she be? What would he be? What words would describe her? If she was living the best life she could be living and she was being the person she wanted to be, what words would describe her? And then I want you to whittle that down to 3 words. And know that those words can change in your life. They can change based on just what's important to you. And that kind of shifts throughout stages of life. But you will come up with your 3 words. Now, let me go pull my 3 words. They're over here. So I came up with my 3 words. And if you guys know Haley Meadows, who lives here, she makes these beautiful pieces of art. I had her write them. But my words are fit, free, and aligned. Now, those words mean something to me. They mean a lot of things to me. But that's who my ideal self is. And I can be in congruence with her. Once I know who she is, I can think about how would she act. And I want you to think about having a relationship with her or him and consulting her or him on a frequent basis. Okay, so literally, I will imagine ideal self Erin next to me, and I will imagine myself saying, like, well, what would you eat? What would you choose off the menu? What would you say yes to? What would you say no to? How would you show up to this meeting? How would you show up to your husband when you come home at night? Right? What words will come out of your mouth? How would you spend your money? I'm constantly consulting my ideal self because guess what? She knows the answers and so does yours. You're not lost. You're not broken. You're not, lost. You have to be found. They know. They know. Your ideal self knows. Now, the more I behave in line with how she would behave, the more congruent I am. That's called integrity. Integrity means you're complete, you're in full completeness. That's the definition of integrity, which I think is so interesting. And one of my words is aligned. And that's what that word means to me, is I'm aligned with my best self. It's very important to me. I'm a person that I've learned I'm pulled by being integral with my value system. And here's what we know about psychology research and self-efficacy research, and it sounds so silly and simple, but when you behave in line with this, you have a chance of liking yourself a lot. So self-esteem comes from several areas, but a big one in adulthood is being the person that you value being. It's really hard to like yourself when you're behaving out of line with yourself, isn't it? And you've all noticed, you've all experienced that. Okay, so congruency is super, super foundational. And again, you can't be congruent unless you have clarity. So if you need clarity around who your ideal self is, just run it by me and we'll talk about it. But that's foundational. So there's this concept that you've all heard of is fake it till you make it. And you can see why that's not really the case. You can't fake this, right? I mean, you got to muster up the energy and the strength and the discipline to be this, whatever this is for you. But it's not about faking it till you make it. It's about trusting in oneself. And trust in oneself, the ability to confide in oneself, comes from behaving in line with your values. And then you have a chance of being proud of who you are. See, if you're proud of who you are, you have a chance of self-esteem. You have a chance of self-trust, of self-efficacy, okay? So some of you know that, I'll give you a quick example of congruency. Some of you know that I competed in a fitness competition. It was like 5 years ago. And I always joke about, I wasn't doing that to get up on a stage and win a trophy and wear this 6-inch fabric piece of, bling on my body. I did it to stop eating Oreos. And if you know anything about me, I love me some Oreos. But Oreos, from my value system, eating Oreos every day was not in congruence with being fit, free, and aligned. I actually felt kind of powerless over Oreos. I kind of felt like, once I started eating them, I couldn't stop. It was not in congruence. And I was on a mission, a spiritual mission, to be in congruence with who Erin knew she wanted to be. And I'm not perfect, but that's how something as simple as an Oreo could make or break my confidence. Okay? So whatever it is for you, look to be in congruence and you will be free. You will be so free. You will be free of self-doubt. You will be free of self-hatred, of self-destruction, because you're in alignment with who you want to be. And I would just implore you to just do whatever it takes to figure out the discipline to be your best self, your ideal self, not your best self, your ideal self, right? Okay. The second C is competence. So competence is learning a skill. So one of the greatest and easiest ways, I think, to gain confidence is go and get good at something and learn the skills. So I had no confidence in my ability to sell, so I hired a sales coach. So here's the thing I was talking about. There's a confidence, competence, feedback loop. It's again in simplest terms. The more skillful you get at something, the more confident you are about that thing. The better you do the thing. The better you do the thing, the more confidence you have. The more confidence you have, the more you're going to try new things and get better at things. The better you get, the more confidence you're going to have. So see, it goes back, it's just bi-directional. So if you are scared as all get up to do a thing, can you go and learn a skill of how to do the thing? That will grow your confidence. Then you'll do the thing and you'll be okay at it. And you'll get confidence. And then you'll do the thing. Okay? So here's what I want to say about this topic of competency is high performers love learning. And it's something that's very, very different about them. Again, when you compare them to their underachieving counterparts. And so I want you to think of, can I fall in love with learning? Can I trust in my ability to learn in the future? So confidence isn't so much about your skill set right now. It's your ability to believe that you have the ability to learn how to do something that could make you better at that thing in the future. So high performers talk a lot about being confident in their future competence. They're confident in their future competence, not where they're at right now. So right now, I have no idea how to do lots of things in my business. I don't know how to do Facebook ads, like really how to spend money wisely, how to do Facebook ads. And it's why I haven't done it ever, and it's why I have no confidence in it. But I have confidence in my ability to hire the right person to help me figure it out. Like I know that I can learn about who I would need to hire, and then I could learn how to do it and go. And I always knew the next level in my business, I knew I could figure it out. Everything's figure outable. Okay. So I have no confidence in my ability to run a Facebook ad. I have full confidence in my ability for my future self to figure it out. So good. I'm like preaching to myself. That was so good. Okay. The ability in your future self to figure it out. Okay. So, second. So rate this sentence. I believe I can learn what I need to know. I believe I can learn what I need to know about whatever thing. I believe I can learn what I need to know. And I hope that you rate yourself really high on that. Okay. Now, one last thing about competence that's super interesting and important. High performers, they actually ponder their wins. They think about what they're successful at. They integrate it. They document it. And if you have ever met a high performer or are one, most high performers originally suck at doing this. They're such high performers that they just go. They're not like stopping to think about, what am I doing that's great? Okay. Let me give you a quick example. I have a woman who is top performer here in Reno. Many of you probably know her if I shared her name. She's a top performer, and she hired me once for a coaching session, and she said, I don't have any problems. My problem is I'm doing so well and I don't know why. And I'm like, this is the best, one of the best reasons to come in, because if you don't know what you're doing well, guess what? You don't know how to duplicate it. You don't know how to replicate it. You don't know what to attribute your success to, so you can keep replicating it. And we figured out what she was doing well, and she was like, oh my gosh, thank God. I mean, it was so anxiety provoking, right? But here's what confident people do. They look at their successes and wins, and they say, what can I learn from those? What interesting, that's interesting. And then they integrate the win into their identity. Psychologists would say they integrate it into their psyche. And that gives them greater strength. In other words, they give themselves credit. They don't discount their wins. They don't discount compliments that they could give to oneself. Okay. So I was just at a corporate office with a group of these high-powered women, and one of them was praising the other one for the influence she had and just all these awesome things. And this woman was like, oh my gosh, it's nothing. Oh my gosh, it's nothing. It's nothing. And I've been that woman, like, please, it's nothing. If you look at high performers who are confident, they integrate those wins. They say, thank you. That was my intention, was to be that way. Or I'm so glad that my intention came to fruition. That was what I wanted to happen. Or I'm so glad that you see that in me because I take great effort to be that way. They're integrating it, and not in a cocky way and not in an egotistical way, right? I have some confidence that I made that thing happen because I figured it out. So one of the practices that you could challenge yourself to do if you're not documenting your wins is every Sunday night, you could look back at your week and just start documenting some things. My self-care coach, Pamela Zimmer, she wants me doing this every night, and I'm really, really bad at it. And I pay her money to make me do it. But it's been really important because success needs and requires documentation. There's just something about it. You just can't escape it, because truly, I think, if we look at it like that, you'll never truly experience success if you're not experiencing success, if you're not integrating it and noticing it. But give yourselves credit. Like, notice. Just start noticing and pondering your wins. Okay, the third C of confidence is connection. And I want to read to you from Brendan's book a quick paragraph on this. And I want you to think about, if you know me, my first year of business, I went on 213 coffee dates, and it's become this thing. And people are like, I'm going on coffee dates, Erin, and blah, blah, blah. But when I won Saleswoman of the Year and I looked at my business and how it had grown, I was trying to figure out and ponder my wins. I was trying to figure out what the heck contributed to all of that, right? And I wasn't going on coffee dates to win Saleswoman of the Year. I wasn't going on coffee dates to experience an outcome. I was going on coffee dates because that's how my high-performing brain knows things happen. It knows magic happens with other human beings. I love other human beings. My number one strength on the Clifton Strengths Finder, and if you've never done that, give yourself a gift and do that, is I'm a learner. So it kind of makes sense, right? But I love how Brendan puts it. And that was called the Clifton Strengths Finder. Clifton. You can get it online for $20, and it's really cool. You find your top 5 strengths, which is really an interesting, fun exercise to give to yourself. Okay, so the third thing that high performers do is they enjoy connecting. Okay, so think about the 213 coffee dates as I read this paragraph. So simply put, high performers have learned the tremendous value in relating with others. They discovered that it is by connecting with others that they can learn more about themselves and the world. It's their connection with others that inspires greater congruence and greater competence. You know this too. The more you work with people, the more you learn about yourself. And the more you work with others, the more you learn new ways of thinking, new skills, new ways of serving. That hit of learning is what high performers told me gives them so much drive to engage. So I didn't know, I wasn't smart enough to know what I was doing there, but it was like intoxicating for me to go on 213 coffee dates, and still is. It's intoxicating for me to learn because I learn about myself, I grow, my confidence grows when I get feedback from other people. So we know if you want to go fast, go with others. If you want to go slow, go alone. But if you want to have fun, go with others. If you want to feel confident, go with others, okay? So connection. So here's your confidence about connection, because some of you will say, I can hear you already, you will say, I'm not extroverted like you, Erin, or I'm an introvert, or I've had many people say, like, I am terrified to go on a coffee date. What the heck do I talk about? And I get it. It's okay. I used to be very socially anxious years ago. But here's how I want you to think about it. And this is what high performers report. They have confidence in their ability to do well with others because they are confident that they will be genuinely interested in others. So that's all you have to bring to the table. Can you be confident that you will be genuinely interested in the person sitting across from you? And I know all of you could be confident in that. I could take great interest in someone else. That's all you have to do. So when you study confidence in confident people, they're actually completely 50-50 down the line of being extrovert and introvert. So it has nothing to do with your personality. So you don't have to be an extrovert to connect and to be confident about connecting. What you do have to know is, I'm going to show up and take interest in someone else. That's a great way to be. And takes a lot of pressure off you too, because you don't have to talk about yourself. You can talk about the other person the whole time. Okay, confident people, when they're connecting, they're not thinking about their elevator pitch. They're thinking about, what can I learn from this person? So that's why it was fun for me to go on coffee dates, because I was just constantly learning. What's your struggle? What do you need? How do you get by this? How do you do this? Do you know anyone that, right? I was just building up all that competency and learning. Okay. So we've got confidence is competency, congruence, and connection. Now, there's one last thing that's like rocket fuel for all those 3 things. And it supercharges those 3 things and like exponentially grows it. And it's another C. And it's called curiosity. So curiosity in all these three areas, it like puts those three areas on super speed. And what I mean by curiosity is when you have a sense of curiosity and wondering about the three areas, clarity, how can I self-examine? What I'm curious about who I want to be. I'm curious about how I can show up as that person today. I'm curious what it will feel like. I'm curious where I'll have an opportunity to practice this today. I'm curious how great it will feel when I am that person. I'm curious about who Erin wants to be. When you're curious about, I'm curious about learning from others. I wonder what I can learn from this person here. And when you're curious about what new skills can I learn, competency. See, you're curious about yourself, you're curious about others, and you're curious about what new skills need to be learned or can I learn. It's like on supercharge, okay? I'll leave it with two thoughts and then I'll open up for questions. But when I had the opportunity to meet Brendon Burchard, I knew that if we were at this, we were at a networking social. And I knew that if he came in, I wanted to be ready with a question so that I could beeline up to him and have a reason to ask him. And everyone else was kind of not very confident, and they were just kind of watching him. And I saw him come in. I went straight up to him, and like all these strangers followed me, but I went up and I had my question ready. And I said, you know, Brendon, you've talked a lot about your challenges these 3 days that we've been here at the conference. And can you share a little bit about your failures? And just wanted to see what he would say to that. And he said, we do not have time to go into all the ways I've ever failed, but I will tell you this one thing. And this quote that he says speaks a lot to being confident, okay, and being curious. He said, when your love for learning is greater than your fear of failing, you will be unstoppable. I'll say it again. When your love for learning is greater than your fear of failing, you will be unstoppable. And I want you to have a thirst for being someone that's curious, that wants to learn, that wants to grow. And in the wake of that, failures and bumps along the road, it's like no big deal because your love for learning so outweighs those experiences, okay? And then I have one last quote. I was interviewing someone on my podcast last week, and she is this 25-year-old that used to be this concert pianist, like unbelievable woman. And she said, I'm really good at getting good at things. And I just thought that is the coolest phrase. That's what confidence is. Are you good at getting good at things? And that, remember, Tony Robbins, you don't have resources, you have resourcefulness. I think I'm really good at getting good at things. Again, it's so different than I'm really good at everything. No, I'm good at getting good at things. That's what confidence is. So I hope that I can hear you. If I can't hear you, that's a total bummer. But why don't you all unmute yourself if you would like and ask any questions you have about this or thoughts or ways you want to integrate this or ahas, because all of those kind of experiences help the rest of us. Oh, what is the author's name? Oh, honey, from this book? Oh, Brendon Burchard. Brendon with an O, Burchard, Burchard, and he's the world's top high performance coach, and he is one of my mentors, but he's been Oprah's coach, and he's the most prolific content creator online. He's been studying psychologists for about 25 years, and he was the first one to really provide some scientific backing to all this personal development stuff. The whole personal development world was like, well, what does the science really say? And he is the science guy, which is why I align myself so much with him. So great question. And he has the Brendon Show is his podcast. You can listen. He's got, also you can go and get this for free online, get this book for free, and you can take an assessment and all sorts of goodness. So your life will be changed from today. Just kidding. Does anyone have any questions before we stop the call or thoughts.
Oh, you're just going to work on the homework.
Are you typing, Linda?
Yep. Because it sounds like you can't hear me.
I am so sorry I can't hear you. I have no idea why. Maybe it's something I did. I think Linda is typing something. So I'm going to wait. Oh, just going to go work on my homework. Okay. All right, you guys. If you don't have anything, then we'll stop the call and we'll see you next month, and go and be confident, and everything's figure outable. Thank you so much. This was so fun. Thanks for hopping on, everybody.
Thank you.
Share the inner circle with anyone you think could benefit from it. And thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.